So, what exactly are we going to talk about today, actually?
Yeah, I don't think I have too much of a plan. I mean, we're coming into this with about the same level of shit as we did before. But one thing that was kind of suggested by Beth was that we do kind of a game design thing on comparisons of good RPG maker or a good, sprite based RPG game versus a bad one.
Oh, man, I can definitely talk about that. Uh, but,
And I can definitely talk about it too.
yeah. However, I think what I'm going to start with is talking about this train that's driving by my house.
Choo choo, motherfucker!
Special guest train on this podcast.
We bought too many games. Now we gotta play them all. Hop aboard the sober train. Poo poo.
Oh, man, now we're just going to get in trouble for stealing their idea. Darn it.
Oh,
Can't do anything original on YouTube.
great. Fucking copyrights all over this fucking video.
Well,
Singing Hakuna Matata and Steam Train and shout outs to Game Grumps. I kinda like your shit. I used to like it a lot more, but I don't like it as much now.
So I guess we'll start off like I feel like we need to have a section to talk about what you've been drinking before we start so people know how effectively drunk you are. And
So
I can talk about what I'm not drinking to tell people how effectively sober I am.
wow, that's amazing. It's like you could just summarize your thing in one word. Nothing. Fucking giving yourself the easy part.
I mean, I still got some lime cucumber juice.
You just gonna be like, is that gonna be like the what's the word? Like the representative drink of this podcast is lime cucumber juice.
Apparently, because I like it a lot, and so when I get something to drink, I'm like, well, it's $1 and I get a lot of it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get it.
Sounds pretty like a good deal.
It is. I mean, sad to say, there is some vodka out there that is still technically cheaper than this.
That's true. Today's podcast is brought to you by Lime Cucumber Juice of whatever brand it is that SoberDwarf buys, and by Wave Blue Raspberry Vodka. That is what I drank mostly, but I also have some Belvedere brand vodka that is not flavored, but I have it mixed with Pepsi so that I can actually stomach this shit.
And how much did you pregame before this, and how much do you plan on drinking as we continue to go on?
I think in total it's 6 shots.
Oh, jeez.
I had 4 shots of the blue, four like 3/4 ish shots of the blue raspberry vodka. I finished off the bottle, and then I got just a shot or two's worth of the Belvedere vodka.
That's still quite a bit. Like, I'm not an alcohol expert by any means, but like one shot sounds like a lot. So
One
that's
shot ain't much. Well, I mean, depending. Unless you're fucking drinking Everclear, fucking one shot ain't nothing.
well, I mightn't be as just as functional because I have gotten a whopping 3 hours of sleep in the course of the past 24 hours.
Oh, hey, dude, I've been up for more than 24 hours.
Oh,
Yeah, cheers.
okay. Just take the one thing I got going and just put it
Take that fucking shit and one up your ass.
put it in front of that train that's going by my house. Just throw it in the tracks, tie it up, curl your curly mustache.
Perils of Penelope Pit Stop up in here. Fucking throwing out references that only old people and just kids who only had Boomerang to watch will get.
I'm glad you just called me old.
Do you actually get the reference?
Yeah, I know who Penelope Pitstop is.
Yeah,
She was also in Wacky Races.
Yep, Wacky Races is pretty alright. I remember kind of liking that show,
Uh,
even if it was weird.
yeah, I mean, it was a bunch of like C-list cartoons in a race, and it was
Yeah,
for what reason I'm not sure. And
I
even though Speed Racer is nowhere near associated with that, I always just imagine Speed Racer being in that lineup.
he seems like the kind of person that would be in that, but he's not a Hanna-Barbera character, so they couldn't get him in on that shit.
Like, all I really remember is Penelope Pitstop, Dick Dastardly,
And the yeah,
Muttley,
Mutt Muttley, yeah, that's it. I knew his name involved Mutt somehow.
and the Cavemen people, and the Hillbilly people. And I don't remember who those names were.
Captain Caveman.
Wasn't Captain Caveman that was. I thought it was just kind of like him, but not in captain form.
I'm pretty sure Captain Caveman was a part of Wacky Races.
I mean, we can I can consult Google on this, but I feel like
I'm already a step ahead of you, man.
Oh, so like you're just cheating then, because I at least admitted what I was gonna do.
Shut up! Don't you fucking like act like it's.
Oh, the fact that there's a whole wiki, not just a Wikipedia entry, but a wiki, with all. No, see, it wasn't Captain Caveman. It was the Slag Brothers, and the Bouldermobile 01.
I don't remember that shit at all. I feel like it was Captain Caveman.
No, I mean they look like Captain Caveman, but
They really do.
there's the Gruesome Twosome and the Creepy Coop 02, Professor Pat Pending.
Pat Pending. That's so stupid. What the fuck?
And the Converticar 03, Red Max, which I think is kind of like the Red Baron guy.
Yeah.
In the Crimson, like what the heck are these?
Don't question old Boomerang.
Penelope Pitstop, Sergeant.
And the Compact Pussycat 05, if you know what I mean.
Sergeant Blast and the Private Meekly and the Army Surplus Special 06.
I feel like I should remember that, but I don't remember that one.
I don't remember them either.
But the name, like, Sergeant Blast and Private... Excuse me.
Oh, jeez.
And Private Meekly sound familiar? Like, I should remember, but it's like, I don't.
There was the Anthill Mob, which is like the gangster ones, like just a bunch of tiny gangsters, I think, or maybe it might not have been tiny. It could have been like various sizes.
And the Bulletproof Bomb,
aka the Roaring Plenty, because of the Roaring Twenties guys.
And then you have Lazy Luke and Blubber Bear and the Arkansas Chugabug.
I think those were the hillbillies I was thinking of.
Okay, we're definitely the Slag Brothers and Boulder Mobile #1. They had Rock Slag and Gravel Slag.
Yep, that was the Slag Brothers and
Peter Perfect and the Turbo Terrific.
I only remember vaguely a character that was always interested in Penelope Pitstop, so I assume that's him.
That sounds about right.
And
that says Peter had a crush on Penelope Pitstop.
I mean, who didn't? Like, out of all those people, if someone asked you, out of anyone in Wacky Races, who would you sleep with? I mean, you only have very few options.
True. I mean, unless you're really into cavemen or dogs, then you're probably gonna go with Penelope Pitstop.
Oh, I imagine that being like a good icebreaker. It's like, like, hear me out. In Wacky Races, like, who, if you had to have sex with anyone, like, yeah, I'm sure that'd probably go over really well.
Yeah, totally.
So, but I mean, is Penelope your choice?
Yeah, Penelope would be my choice. I mean, and I barely remember any of the other racers besides fucking Dick Dastardly and Muttley.
I mean, I feel like Muttley is probably like really into small penis humiliation. Just by how he laughs. Like you just
He has that small penis humiliation laugh.
I mean, it's like he just sees it and he's just laughing, and it makes you feel self-conscious. That's why Dick Dastardly's always so upset at him.
Is because Muttley is like constantly laughing at him for his tiny penis.
Yeah. I mean, I would get upset too.
New canon, everyone. Like 2 decades after fucking Penelope Pit Stop airs, we are coming up with headcanons that Muttley is making fun of Dick Dastard, whatever his name is.
Wait, I think wasn't Wacky Races like in the the late 60s? It's been more than 20 years.
Dude, I was born in 95. My nothing goes beyond the 90s in my brain, especially when I'm drunk. Kidding, I don't know. When was it aired? Oh shit, fuck. It was in 1960. It was 1968 to 1969.
Oh dang. Yeah, that's pretty close. I knew it was like late. It seemed to me in my head to be a late 60s cartoon because they just had kind of like a certain feel to it.
Almost as old as you.
Oh, I'm not that old.
I know. We established that.
I was born in the best year, 87, because that was
the best year.
Because that was the year Legend of Zelda came out in America, which it could have been 86, but I'm gonna assume it was 87.
Like Legend of Zelda 1?
Yeah, the Nintendo
the OG Dizzle.
Yeah, the Nintendo Entertainment was around 85, 86. I'm tired. That is my kind of drunk right now.
The Nintendo Entertainment System?
Yeah.
More like the Nintendo Entertainment Shitstem. Oh!
I don't know whether to be more disappointed in that joke or the fact that you said that.
Be disappointed in both. Be disappointed in everything. Be disappointed that you know me. I'm not a good person to know.
I mean, to be fair, I managed to chat with you on Discord when you're not drunk, but the only time we actually talk in person is when you are drunk. So, like, if we ever have, like, a big meetup and I meet you and you're not drunk, I'm going to be a little confused. Like, you sound different.
Man, you slur your words a lot less, and you speak clearer.
So
it'll be the first time you're drunk that we meet. That's why you're saying it weird like that.
I'm completely serious. I have never been drunk in my entire life. I have never drank to the point of actually being drunk.
I guessed as much. Fucking nerd.
Yeah. I don't do it. Like, I was told never to give in to peer pressure, and everyone's like, hey, take your vaccine shots. Everyone's doing it. And I'm like, no.
Kids, dog your vaccine.
So
jokes that only make sense to my drunk brain. Kids, dog your vaccine.
That would be the tagline for this one.
That'll be the name of this episode. Kids, dog your vaccine.
So I guess let's get on the main topic then. about RPG Maker and what constitutes a good RPG Maker game versus a bad one.
Not creepypasta land. I can fucking tell you that shit.
Do you want to explain your traumatic history of Creepypasta Land to people who might not have been following this saga of pain and misery?
Motherfuckers, if you watch and if you listen to this podcast, which will be on my channel, go watch me fucking play Creepypasta Land. That shit is fucking trash, but it's hilarious. Like, holy shit. That's probably the funniest Let's Play I've ever fucking done. Just because of how bad it was. Like, fucking Creepypasta Land has no good elements to it. There is nothing redeeming about that goddamn game. So yeah, I streamed it until completion. I played that game all the way through.
So in your drunken state, can you explain like just a little bit of what Creepypasta Land does that makes it so terrible?
Oh, there are multiple things. Pretty much the game is just like a pseudo haunted house of things. There are no actual RPG mechanics or any gameplay in it really beyond like few sort of mini, at night things where you just kind of run from shit. And that's pretty much all you do. There's no other gameplay. It's just you follow this fucking set gameplay path. Or you follow a set game path with no gameplay. And there's just nothing interesting about it. The story is completely contrived trash that makes no sense. All of the characters are awful. And they have, like, seriously some of the worst names. Like, fucking watch this shit, and as soon as you see the character named Blue D, that's spelled BLOO-DEE, which is supposed to be bloody, bloody, Blue D. It's fucking stupid. His name is fucking awful.
I do vaguely remember watching you live stream the first one, and Jeff the Killer's just randomly in your basement, and and it's just like, oh, he's gonna kill you. What do you do? Do you attack him? Do you pray? Or just like
yeah. Your two choices when you meet Jeff the Killer for the first time are run or pray, and apparently pray is the correct option. Out of all of the things to do when faced with Jeff the Killer, the correct thing to do is pray.
I mean, he's at least respectful of religion.
Fucking apparently. Or maybe it's just your weird magical holy powers. Ooh, because you're the chosen one who breaks the seal and fix the doodiggy.
So there's Jeff the Killer in there. How many other creepypasta characters are in there? And like, let's go down the list of what this person thinks is great creepypasta.
There's a lot of awful things. It's literally almost just like a fucking casting call for icon pasta crap. So I think the first one is Jeff. Then you have Ben of Ben Drowned, of course. You have Sally, who's apparently from a creepypasta. I don't know what creepypasta. I've been told that there is one, but And then there's Slender Man, not technically a creepypasta, but counting him is in that same shit. The Rake is in there at some point.
So, would you go out on a limb to call this the Super Smash Brothers of creepypasta games?
Yes, this is like Super Smash Brothers of creepypasta games. If Super Smash Brothers was bad. If you want all of your shitty icon pastas in one place, fucking go play that game. It's fucking terrible shit. I mean, there is so much wrong about that game. Like, ugh.
So
just so edgy and edgelord trash. Like, you find fucking collectible creepypasta related Yu-Gi-Oh cards throughout the game. That is like your in-game collectible thing is Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
So, but like, wasn't intentional? Like, here's the thing: wasn't intentionally designed to be terrible. Is it like a troll pasta RPG Maker game, or do you think? Because I haven't played it all the way through.
I believe that it is completely 100% sincere. Lucas Boto, which is the name of the creator of the game, seems to be completely into any and all of this stuff. And I mean, I guess you can't blame him too much. He's getting sucked in this shitty creepypasta culture, this icon pasta culture, when he himself doesn't properly understand English. I don't think he's Brazilian, and yeah, and that very much shows with the game too, because there are a lot of English translations that are very bad in there, and it's like, forgive that, but it is still kind of funny when you see it.
Right. So, but like, you played it all the way through. Does it have like, it's so bad it's good charm to it? Like, you're just seeing how it's like cringe YouTube. You just watch it to see how bad it actually gets.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much how it is. Is you play it just to see how garbage it is.
Right. And a lot of that is, again, because it was built in RPG Maker, and it's not an RPG, but RPG Maker is a very easy system to start out, like a game development thing to start out with.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like baby's first game maker.
Right, because it's very intuitive. It allows you to do the stuff that you need to do to make an RPG, and enterprise
other things.
Yeah,
you don't have to do an RPG.
Enterprising individuals have discovered how to use that development software to make things that aren't strictly just RPGs.
This Lucas Boato, the creator, is not one of them. He just it is all just like scripted crap, and there is no actual shit in there besides stupid random choices that will insta kill you, sending you back to your last save point. And oh my god, thinking about that game gives me a fucking headache.
Oh, that's. Do you need a drink?
Sadly, I already finished off my little vodka Pepsi mix that I had.
So, all right. Well, we'll try to get through this before you get too sober and have to like deal with those painful memories.
That'll take a while.
But yeah, and there's, again, it's not that RPG Maker itself is bad, because there's actually been a lot of games out there that have not been traditional RPGs made with RPG Maker, and there's especially some that have been horror related that have actually been either decent or extremely well done.
Exactly. I personally, I have Eve. Eve is pretty much my go-to example of how to do a good non-RPG Maker game.
Right. That was one of my biggest examples.
Eve is great, and I've heard of other things.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Eve since we brought it up?
Oh yeah, dude, Eve is so fucking amazing. That game somehow managed. So there are certain constraints that come with trying to be a horror game when you're working in an RPG Maker, because there are some things like the sprite based and pixelated aesthetic of things can kind of ruin the immersion a little bit when it comes to horror.
Well, because
so it makes the scares a little bit less sometimes.
Like you can do with that. I'm not saying you can't do with pixel, but the problem is that like a lot of horror depends on what you don't know, because that allows you to what is going through your mind is typically usually just as bad, if not worse, than what you can typically see. It's like, oh, holy crap, a zombie is going to come out of me. Where's it going to come out? Is it going to bust through the floorboards, pop through a wall, or go through out the window?
Yeah.
But with RPG Maker, you're in that top-down isometric perspective, and you can essentially see anything. So you can't necessarily do those surprises as often. You can still do them, but
you also have to be a lot more creative with them.
Right. So
there are some things like in Eve when you first meet one of those like the mannequin creature things where it like breaks through some glass and like chases you like by dragging itself along the floor.
Oh, the ladies in the painting.
Yeah, the painting ladies. That's it. Like they hop out of the paintings and it's like you aren't expecting it. It's kind of really out of left field, and it's like really scary when it happens because I mean initially it's a jump scare, where it's like, oh shit, this thing just suddenly jumped out of the painting shit, but then it gets creepy because it's like dragging itself along on the ground in this weird way and trying to chase you like that, and it's like, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's that game uses it really well because I remember there's this other room that you go in, and like by that time you play as Eve, which is a small girl who doesn't even really understand big words that well, and the game does it really well with how they do that, because whenever you come across a word you can't, like, your character wouldn't understand, I don't know if they leave it blank or if they jumble the letters.
I think they leave it blank, or they just won't tell you. It's like, oh, I don't understand that word.
Right. So, and to me, that's genius. I thought that was like a really smart thing to do. Because
with a really young child character like Eve, they're not going to understand a lot of words, especially when it comes to such highly mental or intellectual things like fine art.
Right. So there's a few points where it's like you'll see something, and the reason why this is awesome the way they implement it is because sometimes like you'll see a sign that says danger, like stay off the electric rails or something. Like, this is just an example. It's not in a game. And you, as a player, can read that and be like, oh, okay, I see what this is saying. But the character you're playing as doesn't necessarily understand it. So basically, you see, stay off, keep off. It's like, wait, no, what? What am I supposed to keep off of?
Yeah, that can be kind of interesting. And I guess, like, kind of how I think of it, it can be both. I mean, it's both good, but also detrimental in a way, because it's like, you're supposed to be playing as Eve. You're supposed to be Eve, but you still get these words because you are the player.
Right.
And because you're the player, Eve follows your commands and will do, will quote unquote, like avoid the electric rails, even though she doesn't know at all that she's supposed to avoid the electric rails.
Right. And that's more of a game and it kind of makes sense because it's like danger, avoid, and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to avoid something and I got that much, but what am I supposed to? So you're kind of paying more attention to everything around you.
Yeah.
And and again, this isn't because I have a hard time. It's been like 6 years since I played Eve.
I don't even know how long it's been since I played Eve. Frankly, I think I played it like initially when Markiplier played it. Pretty much what got me into the game.
So it's been a while, so I have a hard time coming up with specific examples, but it's like, okay, no, now you're paying attention to like, okay, I remember distinctly that there's this one painting that's like, hey, will you give me your rose? And your rose is essentially your life, because every time you take a hit, you lose like a petal off your rose. And if you're like your rose disappears, you die. And that's like the conceit of this twisted reality you're in.
Yeah.
So, and like, there's I don't know if it was a sign or maybe another, like, somewhat helpful NPC that's like, hey, don't give your rose, or kind of gives you a warning. And that kind of makes you a little bit more aware of the situation before you go into it without necessarily spoiling it for you.
Exactly.
But, like, in terms of what the...
also used other good things, too.
Right, like, another thing that I really distinctly remember about Ebe, and again, this is done in an RPG Maker game, the same one done as in Creepypasta Land. They have the same tools to work with.
Exactly.
So,
but Ebe is miles better than fucking Creepypasta Land in every aspect.
So, there's this one scene where you're in a room filled with a bunch of like mannequin heads, and there's just these creepy, like, basically two black holes for eyes and a black hole for a mouth, and otherwise kind of completely featureless. So they're already a little bit creepy to begin with. And you find another character who's an adult, or at least like more mature than Ebe at least. And he kind of gets creeped out by one of these dolls and just breaks it open. And just like, because they do like creepy things, like they'll follow you, like, oh, was this here before? Kind of making you guess. So he like flips out and he finally breaks one. And Eve's in there and she sees that. And then it cuts away, like they look at a picture on the wall or something. And there's a bunch of these mannequin heads in this room, but they're all like facing downward. Like when you walk in, then when the picture cuts back to the overhead shot, they're all looking at you.
Yep, it's fucking some creepy ass shit there. It does well in the creep factor. It does very well in having those things that will spook you and be like, oh, that's not exactly something. Yeah, nope, that's kind of spooky.
Would you say it's too spooky?
Is too spooky. And I went over the audible the decibel range. I have become Dog Whistle, Destroyer of Man.
Dog Whistle, Destroyer Man. Remember to vaccinate your kid. Or
remember to dog your vaccines.
Dog whistle your vaccines.
Remember to dog whistle your vaccines, kids.
So Ib is a really good one. Another popular one that I would argue isn't as good as Ib, but is probably still better in Creepypasta Land, is Ao-Oni.
Yeah, I'll admit I haven't played through Ao-Oni myself. I have seen a couple playthroughs of it a while ago, back when it was like a big thing. And it wasn't great.
Right.
But it was definitely way better than Creepypasta Land.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Creepypasta Land doesn't set the bar very high. And Ib, starting off with Ib, that's like pretty much the bar is set there.
Yeah, Ib is probably the best RPG Maker horror game I've yet to see.
Ao-Oni is kind of, I wouldn't say similar. It is not psychological horror like Ib is. Ao-Oni,
it's more just direct horror,
right? Because
you got your big creepy monster thing,
which is
big blue face.
He like, it's creepy in how dumb it is. It's like, it's amazing how creepy it is if you really like think about it, because it's just like this weird square-headed guy with a goofy look, like a goofy smirk on his face and a nose, and like one eye that's like squinting and one eye that's like large.
And you have big blue faces. The creature designs in Ao Oni are both very funny, but also kind of creepy in a way.
Right.
Because it's off-settling and very kind of out of place with a RPG Maker kind of game.
Right. And
but you see it and it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, that's fucking silly.
Yeah, but it comes in and it does like this cheap MIDI like violin scare, like it's like and like it just busts in, like it doesn't matter what you're doing. It busts in the room and it just starts chasing after you. And you're like, oh crap. And you have to you immediately have to stop what you're doing and run away from it. And the creature is either slightly faster than your character or is about the same speed. But it slows down slightly as you go through different areas. So you have to essentially, when it chases you, you have to essentially run around a bit till you get enough distance to like run into an area and like hide under a bed or in a closet or something like that.
Yep. And
they do a decent job with that mechanic, because if you hide in a closet, there's still a chance he's going to come in and see you, because when you hide in a closet, the whole screen goes black, and they do this kind of neat sound design thing where you like hear the like footsteps go around, like as the creature's searching for you. And it might have been in like a sequel or in a different version, because there's like 30 Aonis by now. I'm not kidding. That like everyone and their grandmother they enjoyed that game kind of concept so much that there was so many of them that made it. I'm trying to think if I can see a list. Like there's like a fan version that's like based off of Axis Powers Hetalia. Head Oni, I think it was called. So like if you happen to enjoy Axis Powers and creepypasta horror, there's that option available for you.
Ugh. I don't even want to think about the person who would make or play that kind of game, because that does not seem at all like the kind of person I would ever want to associate with.
Germany.
Like, I mean, fine, whatever, like those things all you want, but don't fucking be like, oh yeah, I want Axis Powers, blue face, demon Aoni thing. That's dumb.
From what I heard, I didn't play it myself, but from what I heard, it's not terrible. Like, there are worse versions of Aoni out there. But yeah, there's like Aka Oni, Sira Oni, Gan Oni, Aoni, like 3 or 4 different versions of that game. And it's all based around the same premise. It's just like a different story. Sometimes it's the same characters, and it kind of does like it's like a slasher horror. Like, you have characters, sometimes they die, some characters you can save, but anyway, like they do interesting things with the sound design. So you like hear the Oni like walk around in the room, and sometimes you're like, okay, it went quiet, I can get out of the closet. Then you press the button and the Oni's like right there at the closet door. And then it kind of does like this weird like sounds of like someone being killed, and like this weird little kind of girl laugh. Then it's game over. But I mean, not necessarily great, but
yeah, it's not. I wouldn't put it. I'd put it up in the higher end of RPG Maker horror games, but definitely not one of the like top 5.
Right. And then again, this is pointing out to that you can do interesting things with RPG Maker. And
exactly.
Creepypasta Land had the same tools as Aoni, which had the same tools as Ebe, which has the same tools of another game I'm going to bring up in a bit. But Is there any one that you're thinking of that you want to bring up that is you kind of want to call attention to that's either good, like good for good reasons, or bad, or like good for bad reasons, or anything that you think would be interesting for discussion?
Not too much that I can think of. I know there are other popular ones that I've seen playthroughs of, but are ones that I've never experienced, like the Crooked Man and Mad Father. Both very popular ones, though ones I haven't done myself, but seem all right, I guess.
No. All right. So the one I'm going to bring up, which is what you can do extremely well in RPG Maker. Have you ever heard and or played Stray Cat Crossing?
No, I don't think I have heard of that one.
I actually did a review of that game, not for my channel. Someone basically gave me a couple of bucks to voice over and review it so I can put it on their channel. So they technically have the rights to that, and they don't want to pay me to advertise it. Not that I need money, but like I wasn't gonna just like point everyone like, hey, yeah, everyone, I did this on this channel. So I mean, it was just one. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. It's actually on my Patreon if you ever want to go in there, because I did post it on there as secret content.
Check out SoberDwarf Patreon. He's amazing. Go support him on Patreon. Give him all of your money. Just fucking throw hands full of cash at him.
I mean, like, preferably in bills. Like, if you meet me on the street, just don't grab like a handful of change and throw it at me. So
throw it at him in change. He has to work a little bit for his money. You know, you gotta suffer a little bit. You can't just get fucking free money, SoberDwarf. You have to have a little pain.
I mean, I'm fine with people making it rain. I just don't want people to make it hail.
Oh, well, baby, when the temperature is low enough, any rain will be hail.
Is that how it's gonna? Is that like this cool saying?
That's the new cool saying. Haven't you been out on the streets where he's like, yeah, baby, when it's cold enough, rain turns into hail or whatever the fuck it was I said. Don't question me.
Now this is something I kind of want to get your reaction to this. Unfortunately, the audience won't be able to fully get it, but I'm going to go ahead and send you a picture of Stray Cat Crossing, and I just want you to tell me, like, initially, does this even look like it's built in RPG Maker? So,
sure.
Throw that on.
No, it definitely does not look like it. Like, it's got that thing where it's like it's very pixely, so it looks like the sprite kind of thing that would be with RPG Maker, but it is very it's a lot more detailed than pretty much anything I think I've ever seen with RPG Maker.
When I first saw Stray Cat Crossing, I played like maybe about 5 minutes into it before you get to the menu system. And once you get to the menu system, that's the only thing it gives away that's an RPG Maker game. Like, stylized, it's gorgeous. It looks amazing. All the music's original. It is an amazing game for an RPG Maker game. And
yeah, looking at the screenshots on Steam, it looks pretty hella.
Yeah. Like, they even got like an animated opening for that, which is kind of crazy. Like, it's not in a game, but just the like Steam trailer is pretty ridiculous. But I don't want to. I don't want to like say too much about it because, first of all, it's a very cheap Steam game. It's $3, and it regularly goes on sale for like $1. So
yeah, sounds like one of those things that you should definitely pick up next Steam sale.
And it's only like, I think it's about 2 hours long, so it doesn't really overstay its welcome. It there is it's different. It's not, whereas Eve is more close to like psychological horror, and we'll say Aoni is slasher horror.
Slasher monster horror.
Right. Stray Cat Crossing follows more into a psychological horror that's very different than what we see even in American or Japanese, because the people who made this are Brazilian, the same country of origin that brought us Creepypasta Land, also brought us Stray Cat Crossing. And the differences between these are like between mountains and molehills, essentially.
Yeah, seriously, there are many fucking differences. It's like, yeah, on one hand, you have what definitely seems like a really good game. Like, you have these two similar. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to hit that box. Similar origin, the games, but one taken in a very different, new, interesting, and well done approach, versus where Creepypasta Land is just, hey, let's just throw in all of this crap and and have.
I know.
It's just terrible.
I know I'd categorize Stray Cat Crossing as, and that's what I've been thinking. I was like, what would I categorize it as? I would call it narrative horror. It is very. It's not necessarily based in reality, so you couldn't really call it like an ashcan horror game.
Yeah.
Eve is more psychological, and Eve tells a story, but really it's just like, that's the one credit I can't really give to Eve, is that the story is not necessarily a strong point to it.
Yeah, it has its good points, and it explores some nice themes to it, but overall it is kind of predictable in ways.
Right. Well, I mean, it's very basic, but that's because that's the story it's essentially trying to tell. It's not.
It tells what it wants to tell, even if it is kind of a basic theme, and they do throw in some nice philosophical things on it along with it.
Right, and whereas Stray Cat Crossing, the basic premise of the story, and this isn't really spoiling much, is that you meet this girl named Kat, and she ran away from home, and you give her scarf and you walk her back home, and she goes in, but accidentally takes your scarf, and for some reason this scarf is incredibly important to your character, so much that she's willing to go inside this obviously creepy, haunted looking house and essentially figure out the mystery of what's going on here. And in the first kind of chapter, which I think is essentially the demo, because I do believe that there is actually a demo available for this game too. So if you even if you don't want, if you want to just try it out, you come across like these creepy twins that basically tell you to solve puzzles. And at first, like, it doesn't seem that there's any real reason for the puzzles. Like, it just kind of seems like it's a throwaway, oh, you got to kill a bird to solve this puzzle, and it's really cruel and mean, but just trying to lull you into a false sense of security. But the game is all about some symbolism. It's all about, hey, any tiny thing has a bigger meaning to it. So the horror comes not from the game itself. There's only like one particular scene. I think there's only one scene where you get a game over. And it's like a chase scene that happens at the climax of Act 1, and that's it. Like, there's no, oh, you did the wrong thing and a monster comes out and kills you, or, oh, you didn't pray to Jeff the Killer, so he kills you. There's very few of that. In fact, like
Yep.
but it's all based on, and the horror comes from realizing what everything actually means. It's like, because that's where the horror is. Once you kind of realize, like, oh, this is what this means. Oh, that's really sad and terrible.
Exactly.
So, and to me, Stray Cat Crossing is an exemplary example of what you can do in an RPG Maker game, in terms of horror at least.
Yeah, definitely.
So, well, we talked about like the good and the bad, but we didn't really have much of a discussion on like what exactly those differences are. We touched a little bit on it, but I guess to start to clarify, what are some of the biggest drawbacks that you're dealing with RPG Maker specifically anyway? Like when you start out with RPG Maker, like you mentioned, the pixel aspect to it.
Yeah, it's the aesthetic and graphics can be kind of restricting when it comes to using RPG Maker. It's a sprite based system, and it's supposed to be that kind of thing, like the very early Final Fantasy games and shit like that, which is a little bit out of place with modern day stuff, where you have the very more ARPG thing than the turn-based RPG thing kind of going.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing I'll point out with RPG Maker sprites, especially for horror games, RPG Maker is a very clean looking game. And I'm not saying that as like a positive in this case. Like,
yeah, I guess I can give you that.
Because, like, for instance, in horror, you have to set up atmosphere. Atmosphere is very important in horror. It's very important in anything, but horror especially.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And atmosphere is usually based around how things look, how things sound. It is putting the audience in a mindset of, like, okay, this is a scary place. And how you usually go about doing that, usually things are dark. You can't make things out. Things are dirty. It's like humans aren't here. Things are wrong. Like there's bookshelves, but there's hardly any books on them. There's food, but it's rotting on the table. Like it's rotting on a plate. Like Resident Evil 7. You go into that creepy house and you go through the kitchen and you just see like food set up on a table, but it's rotting. Or you open a microwave and there's a dead bird in there. A lot of that is based on atmosphere. Whereas RPG Maker's base assets don't include stuff like that. It's a clean looking tile floor that repeats in harmony with each other. The walls are very clean, and if they're not clean, like they might be like cracked, but it's kind of purposely designed to be aesthetically pleasing. Like, oh, here's a cracked wall, but it looks good when it's cracked. So it's noticeable. It doesn't pull you away from it. It makes you interested. Bookshelves, like if you try to do a creepy looking room in a library, all the bookshelves are like there and clean, and there's not a whole lot of detail that makes it go, oh wait, something's off here. And that makes the creepy stuff when people try to include stuff. Pardon me. Like, I've seen RPG Maker games just like, oh, there's blood. And what blood ends up looking like is someone took MS Paint and used the spray tool and just dragged it around this otherwise clean room.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's very hard to invoke an atmosphere with RPG Maker, which is why a lot of the really good RPG Maker horror games will make custom custom made assets like the mannequin heads in Eve, or the sprite, the lady crawling out of the sprite, or the lady crawling out of the painting sprite. You alright over there?
Huh? Oh yeah. Sorry. Phase out for a second. One more time on what you said.
I was talking about like how RPG Maker, like for good horror games, will often make their own custom stuff to make it more horrifying.
Oh yeah, definitely. Custom things are a must. I mean, for any RPG Maker game, don't stock asset it.
Yeah, because I mean,
it can be kind of rough to build your own things, or buy and alter pre-existing ones, but don't buy other sold packs and resell them on Steam. It's scummy.
Right. Well, I mean, like not everyone's going to be in like assets for RPG makers, but because RPG Maker themselves will sell assets on their store and say that you can use them for your game and you don't have to modify them, and they don't expect you to modify them. However, the problem with that is, in general, it makes your game look generic because everyone does it. If everyone uses the same assets, then it's hard to differentiate your game from other games.
Exactly.
So that part of that style is going to be your game's personality. So even if it looks bad, there's an RPG Maker game based on like Mega Man, and the sprites look hilariously terrible.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually based on a webcomic too. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's distinct. The fact that I remember that rather than the other 20 RPG Maker games I've played and can't even remember the name of, that means something. But especially for horror, you need that atmosphere. Like you need to learn how to do the lighting. You need to make sure like, okay, I want this area to be dark. And that means more than just kind of touching that like lighting option in the background and turning it down to very low. Because that was that's one of those things that I think Creepypasta Land did, to kind of point out, like if you turned it down low, like the whole room was like almost pitch black, but your characters was still like super bright on the screen. Then if you turn the lights on, it's like so white it's washed out.
Yeah, definitely. You can kind of get that at points.
So good. And so say that's just the aesthetic, but a lot of horror, you have to know what is horrifying. And this is a problem that Creepypasta typically has, which is people see what's popular and they think that's scary. So they'll be like, oh, then a monster's going to hop out because that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be scary, but it's not the act of the monster hopping out that's scary. Like if
there are other things that cause the fear.
Right. And that's like a much larger discussion in general, but we probably won't get into that here because it sounds like you might have had a little too much to drink. You all right there? Want to wrap this up?
Yeah, sorry. I think I'm at that point where, so like missing 24 hours of sleep plus being drunk is like, whoa, man. But no, we can continue. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I'll be the designated driver, and I'll try to take us home. Just tell me where you live.
Not drive all the way out here to Utah from Ohio.
I didn't mean literally, Tommy. It was a metaphor there, Jen.
Oh, Ish, I will literalize your metaphors all I damn well please to.
Is that? I feel like you're coming on to me. I was like, hey, baby.
Maybe I am. Come on, sober. I'll literalize your metaphor in my asshole.
Whoa. All right. You have officially had too much to drink. I am taking us home.
No. Come on. I don't want to go home.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain to Sakura how you're going to literalize my metaphor in your asshole.
I want to stay at Disney World sober. Don't take me home.
All right. So, but anyway, for creepypasta, an important part of that is purpose. Like, make sure that your horror has a reason to be horror. And that reason probably needs more legs to stand on other than, well, I like Jeff the Killer and he's scary, so I'm going to do that.
Exactly. Don't rely on other people's things. You can go make your own amazing horror game. Please go out, make the next Ebe, make the next Yume Nikki.
Yeah, that's another one we didn't talk about.
I can't believe we forgot to mention Yume Nikki.
That is a different horror game in itself, because that is not like, that horror is not like it's psychological, but it's more like almost an LSD dream simulator kind of horror where you're just like
it's a very surreal horror, and it's one of those things where it's like it is technically horror but also not horror in a way, because it's like it's creepy and weird and can be spooky but also not. And Humanity is just a very, very interesting game, and sincerely, for anyone who likes game design at all, please go like study Yumeniki. It is a rare, interesting gem. It's a game.
Like, there is a very basic like through line through it, but that game is, here's some crazy stuff, you figure it out, and it doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of explanation behind it.
And it's one of those things like where it is really rough to get into. There's a lot of things where it's like, you know, you're not going to be able to tell what's what, and you're going to be lost a lot in shit.
Right, but that's part of the experience itself. It's
exactly
like getting lost is part of the reason why that game works, because that's where you come across some weird stuff.
Yeah, that's where you come across your Uboas and the weird thing that's rubbing the stairs.
So, but yeah, definitely don't be afraid to experiment, because RPG Maker allows that, and it's kind of one of those things, if you can dream it, you can do it. You just have to be really creative about how you do it.
You can do it. Like, for all of those like future game designers, people considering it at all, please go out and do it. Your vision is something that the world needs. Like, it, you know, go out, show them your vision of these things, show them what you want, show them your take on things, just put your vision into a game.
Right. And like, if your vision, like, not everything you're going to do is going to work out the way you intended, but there's a lot of things, like, your vision is probably going to be better than you trying to do someone else's vision.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Your vision for a game is going to be better than, hey, I just want to shove in all of those creepypastas into one game.
So,
it's those limitations that will also add to your game in a way.
Right, because
that's one thing that's often very cited with video games, is that creativity can kind of come from these these obstacles in a
Right.
way.
No,
You have to work around these things.
this is something that is this is something that I'm a firm believer of in game design is limitations, because anytime you set a limitation for yourself, if you have, and this isn't just for RPG Maker, or this is for really any creative endeavor, if you're ever having an issue with making something creative, try to explore a limitation on yourself. Like, for instance, be like, okay, I'm only going to make a picture. Like, if you're an artist, I'm only going to draw a picture using blues. I can use any shade of blue I want, but the entire picture has to have some sort of concept of blue.
Yeah, there are a lot of things, and there are real world examples of this thing working. Like, one of the biggest masterpieces of video games and horror games, Silent Hill 2, showcases that perfectly with its fog. It adds this layer of creepiness, but it's not something they would have regularly added without the limitations of the PS2 hardware. You had to have that draw distance reduced.
Exactly.
And so they added in the fog, and they made it fit, and it's creative, and it works, and it makes the game better.
Right. And you can find ways to do that. And just so when you sit out to, like, if you're going to sit down and make an RPG, or even if you don't sit down and make it, if like you just have an idea, just think of how you can do it and try to, like, don't allow yourself to be like, well, I can do anything. Like, no, it's like, okay, set the limitations of your world, set the limitations of what your characters can do and how they solve these problems within those limitations, because that's going to be more interesting game than, oh, well, then Slenderman shows up and he's with Jeff the Killer, and then all of a sudden the Rake shows up.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's not that people don't like Mary Sue's and things,
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it to be able to do anything. You have to work with these limitations. The limitations and flaws are what make for an interesting character, item, things, stuff like that.
Right. And even if, like, this is not to say, like, first of all, make what you want, because as long as you're proud of it, it doesn't really matter what other people think. And that doesn't necessarily mean your product's going to be good in the end, but at least it would have been worth someone's time, rather than trying to, like, make something to appease everyone, excluding yourself, and then appeasing no one.
Like the AAA industry that makes these super wide market things to just appeal to people and sell. Make your vision. Try to put your own vision into it.
Right.
Just make it how you would want.
Right. And like if you want
it will be something special.
If you want Jeff the Killer cross Slenderman fanfic game, then make that your limitation. Make it like, okay, how do I focus on making this good?
Exactly.
So, and I think that's really what kind of separates the good RPG Maker games from the bad. They kind of know what they want to set out to do, and they become they learn how to do it.
Yeah, they learn how to do their things. They build it well, and when they run into an issue or anything, you find a way around it. You get creative.
Right, because like Yumi Nikki is a huge RPG Maker game. It is fairly massive for an RPG Maker game. So a lot of work went into that. And I think it's all except there might have been a few things that were not custom made, but as far as I know, like the person designed, and it's not necessarily amazing art. It's not Stray Cat Crossing with its like excellent pixel stuff, but it fits its style. It doesn't have to be like pixel perfect essentially. So
work with what you can, try to find creative ways to do it, and give your creation life.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's good enough, like you can, like especially if it's original, you can make something out of it. Like Stray Cat Crossing, it's not gonna you're not gonna be famous overnight for an RPG Maker game, but Stray Cat Crossing I think did fairly well. So like make it because you're passionate about it, not because you're gonna make money off of it. But don't feel like it's gonna be a waste and no one's gonna see it, because I'm sure people who made, like someone who made Aoni probably didn't expect it to get big. I know the person who designed Ib wasn't expecting it to get big. They did it because, that's the example that a lot of people know in the creepypasta RPG maker community.
Yeah, it's go out and make the thing you want to see. Make the art. Don't focus on other things. Don't focus on views. Don't focus on gameplays. Don't focus on trying to get big off of it. Just give it that natural life that you can.
Yeah, and I think we kind of nailed the point home enough for him. So we're gonna wrap this up so you can either sleep and or pass out and or stay awake longer and play more Overwatch.
Gotta get those new skins, Gotta gotta get that Widowmaker skin so I can, jack off all of the times I don't play Widowmaker.
When I'm not playing Widowmaker, I am jacking off to Widowmaker.
Exactly. Just my life is 24/7 jacking off to Widowmaker in that fucking bikini.
So
pretty damn good skin.
Since this podcast is hosted on your channel, obviously people know where they can find your stuff, but you have the upload of Creepypasta Land on it, right?
Wait, what?
On your channel, did you upload your playthrough of Creepypasta Land?
Yep. Most of it is uploaded. There's like one part that needs to be uploaded still. And then I'm also going to be uploading the live stream I did of Creepypasta Land, the demo for Creepypasta Land 2, which is even worse than the first one. I gotta say, that one hits a very personal place because it's the whole thing is it's supposed to be an SCP force, and I'm like, I consider myself a geek of the SCP Foundation. I love the SCP wiki and everything, and there is just so much wrong with that game, and it really pisses me off. And if you really want to see me rage at stupid shit and ponies, and for anyone who knows anything about SCPs, they kill 682 in this game. That's right. They kill the unkillable lizard. It's just toxic gas.
Oh, that's all it took.
Yeah, no, it's not at all like it would have required something a lot bigger and worse than that to fucking kill 682. It's not like when they try to actually make something that could, when they try to use another SCP to make something that would kill 682, that it blew up their whole goddamn site.
Oh.
Sorry, as I said, I'm kind of a geek about the SCP Foundation.
It's fine. It's all right to be passionate about it, and I'm sorry to hear that the creator is once again ruining your hopes and dreams.
It's bad. Lucas Boto, if you were for some reason listening to it, you know what? If that's what you wanted to make, don't. You know what? That's fine. I don't believe that it was very good in how you did it. You could have done so much better, and maybe you did. I know that there's this quote-unquote MV edition of Creepypasta Land that I have yet to play through and see if it's worth playing through, which actually has, fucking gameplay in it. Surprise, surprise. instead of just being a bunch of random choices and jump scares.
And as for what I do, I am a video game design analysis personality. I create YouTube videos that go into topics a little bit more professional and less drunk than.
Yes, he is generally a lot less drunk than I am, and by generally I mean completely, because he doesn't drink at all.
Yeah.
Hence the name SoberDwarf, hence the name of our podcast, Drunk and Sober.
So we right now I'm working on a few videos. Who knows when this will be uploaded and if any of those will be uploaded by then, because the reason why I got 3 hours of sleep is because I stayed up till 1 in the morning or 1 in the afternoon, actually, working on a video. Then I was like, you know what? I should go to bed. And then my friends picked me up around 5 or 4 or 5. Like I was up at 4 and when they were here. So, and then we stayed out till 10. So, I'm far behind on stuff. But if you're listening to this, check out my channel. There's pretty cool things. If you're interested in like creepypasta stuff, I did a thing with Dead Palette, who's a friend of the show. I mean, I assume he's a friend of the show. I don't know if he's ever listened to this. Like, I mean, all one of the episodes until now.
Yeah, I don't think he's listened to the first episode yet. I don't think it's gotten around to him. But I talk. He's a friend of ours.
He is a friend of ours, and if he cares about us, he'll watch the show, like, subscribe, like you guys should do. So,
like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, surprise us.
Yeah, surprise us. Yes.
That
like button in the dick. And like, comment, subscribe. Boop, boop, doop, doop. Roll end credits.
Remember to throw your change at me and dog whistle your kid vaccines.
Don't forget to dog whistle your vaccines, kids.
All right.
Yeah. Good. Make sure to throw money at SoberDwarf so you can vote on his poll for the Patreon pick episode.
Yeah.
If you like horror right now, Silent Hill Monster Design, my suggestion is currently winning the poll at 7 votes. Go ahead and go in and throw more votes at it.
And you got like, whenever this is posted, you probably got like 30 minutes to do that. So go ahead. Just don't even look. Just pick a button and get it in.
Just boop. It doesn't matter what it is.
So, all right. And I believe that is all from us. I'm going to let Jen here get a little less drunk and a little more sleep.
Yep.
So, and I'm going to go.
Bye.
So,
bye. Have a beautiful time.